Should you already know everything about yourself before entering a relationship?
Or should a relationship teach you who you are? Do you want to know the answer to these questions? Stay tuned. Woo! Hi, I'm Josiah.
And I'm Bethany.
Welcome to OneTruePair,
the not so common sense guide to godly relationships.
Today, we are talking about finding your identity as you continue to grow in your relationship, really continue to discover who you are. So let's dive right in.
So dating someone should strengthen your identity that you already have, and it shouldn't take away from that. Many people enter a relationship thinking, oh no, I'm gonna lose my identity now because I'm dating someone who's different than me. But that's not right at all. In fact, the person you're dating should help you grow in your identity.
I think a lot of people think that your identity kind of morphs into this combination of the two of you guys, and that there's no individuality left in the relationship, and I think that's really unfortunate. I think relationships, like Bethany was saying, really should draw out the best parts of who you are. It should be just as much you continuing to grow in your identity as it is continuing to grow in an identity as a couple.
So the Bible talks about how we should sharpen each other as iron sharpens iron. And that's the other iron. It's
Wait, huh? Okay, sharpening iron. So if you have an iron deficiency, find another person.
We're helping each other get better and better. That we're not tearing someone down, but we're sharpening each other and just being honest and being like, hey, maybe this isn't the best thing that God has called you to be, but being honest and saying, you know what, I think we can grow in this together. And that's what a relationship should look like.
As happens in friend circles too, and that's kind of traditionally where this is the scriptures kind of applied, is your friends, you sharpen each other and kind of figuring out who you are in a setting of a group too. But there's an element of that continues in building a relationship, that you continue discovering who you are, who God's created you to be. So when you're dating somebody, your personality should really help together to grow your identity as a person. You shouldn't have to compromise on who you are, on who God's created you to be when you're dating somebody.
That's importante.
Muy importante.
See. So don't be afraid to enter a relationship if you don't feel completely confident about your identity now, because oftentimes you learn a lot about yourself through interacting with the other person and how you respond to different situations in your relationship.
There's the flip side of this, that you don't want to go into a relationship trying to find your identity. You should already have an idea of who you are and have allowed God to establish you and who He's created you to be. But there's an element of figuring out in maybe a new way, or maybe from a new perspective, who you are while you're in a relationship. We really aren't able to see our own perspective. As soon as there's a second perspective, we're able to compare the two and able to figure out, oh, okay, so that's the different, oh, so this must be my perspective. But until there's a second opinion or a second perspective, a different personality, a different kind of person, your teammate in this, you really aren't able to figure out exactly what your perspective is. So there's an element, obviously, of your identity that you already should be solid in going into a relationship. You shouldn't be looking for your identity in the other person, but in growing closer to each other and growing closer to God. There's this illustration where it has a triangle. One point is God, right? And there's you and then the other person. And so as you as you grow closer to God, you grow closer to each other too. And it's in the same way. Your identity is already found in Christ, but as you grow closer together, your identity becomes clearer, and you're able to see clearer who you really are. What does this look like practically? Would you want to take a stab at it, Bethany?
Do you want me to go for the single people or the people in a relationship?
Let's take a stab at single people. Wait, no, that's not what meant. Sorry. Take two!
So what does this look like practically? Well, for the single peoples out there, maybe this looks like establishing your identity now and asking yourself the tough questions of, what do I believe about this? So that way, when you do enter a relationship, you know where you stand on things, so you can continue to sharpen yourself even more than you already have on your own.
And I would say that's a fluid process too. I find that there's still some things I'm still figuring out, okay, what's exactly my perspective on this? What's really, what I believe? So don't wait until you have your perspective completely, set in stone, because that's really never going to happen. You're never really going to have all 100% of your ducks in a row. It's a process that happens as you go, as you continue on your journey. But already already now, even in not being in a relationship, go ahead and be continuing to strengthen your relationship with God and growing in who God says that you are and in your identity there, and in your perspective on things, and go and develop that worldview a bit.
And for all of our couples out there, don't forget that your identity is in God and in no one else, and no one else can change your identity It's all in God. So continue as you're in a relationship to strengthen your relationship with God and with the other person. So as you're strengthening your relationship with God and the other person, you're pushing each other to grow closer to God, and you're not compromising on what you believe just to sharpen each other, because sharpening doesn't equal compromising.
So in summary, going into your relationship, it's good to have an idea of who you are, but it should really become clear. In a healthy relationship, your identity really will become clear as you grow as a couple, as you grow closer to God, and you'll really be able to discover on a deeper level who you were created to be.
So if you're getting any value out of this, hit that subscribe button, share us on your social medias, tell your friends, and if you have any questions, feel free to comment or email us. Just get in contact with us. We'd love to talk to you. I think that's all we have for today. So tune in next time, same place. We'll see you on the flip side.
Woo!